community. And the court made that very clear, that it was not to be construed in that fashion. But it is probable that if you had a purely residential area, that you could probably prohibit the drilling itself in that particular area. The Fayette County case essentially took both of those cases and kind of brought them together. And I'm going to leave you with some background on some of this. That case brought them together and said that, again, you could do some of this stuff. It said as long as you don't, here, let me read this. It says, the Fayette County ordinance does not provide Fayette County or its zoning hearing board with virtually unbridled discretion to deny permission to drill an oil and gas well even after compliance with the applicable zoning regulations. That's the standard. You can't have unbridled discretion to deal with this. If you're going to get into regulating this, then you've got to do it in a way that is very specific, that does not duplicate the State Oil and Gas Act and its preemption, and that is relatively limited and allows people to get permits. And that's really consistent with what George just told you a few minutes ago. If you want to regulate this, do it the proper way, and you can do some things. And I have proposed to some communities some different things along that line. And I would encourage you to read some stuff from one of our opponents from the industry perspective. It's the Damascus Citizens for Sustainability. They went out and requested a legal analysis of where things stood in Pennsylvania on this whole subject. And so this is kind of our opponents speaking. Now, what do they say? And I'm not inclined to agree with them unless I really agree with them. Okay. And one of the things that they say in here, it's a pretty good analysis actually, because the attorney is a good attorney and tried to give them the truth. And he says a complete ban on drilling throughout a municipality, which is what the LDF would propose to you, would almost certainly be subject to a legal challenge asserting that the ban violates substantive due process rights under the U.S. and Pennsylvania constitutions and that it frustrates the purpose of the Oil and Gas Act. I mean, I agree. So this gives you a good summary of what the law is about. And I would urge you to be very careful. You're in the midst of a very difficult situation. You've got people who feel strongly both ways on this subject. And in that kind of a case, you have but one option. And really, it's the option you always have. Follow the law. Follow the law. The law is very clear. And the case law is there. The preemption law is there. It tells you what direction you can go. And I'm going to leave you with a couple of examples. One that I wrote for Lebanon Township of Wayne County, which just dealt with some setback issues, which we thought were reasonable for things like compressor stations and other sorts of things. Very simple, 2-page amendment. And then here's one that the industry actually worked with a number of municipalities in Lycoming County. Lycoming County has a countywide zoning ordinance, in fact, for most of their county. And so they sat down with 7 or 8 members of the industry and worked up a rather detailed ordinance, which includes, again, some setbacks and other protections. This has been well thought out. It complies with the law. It sets some high standards. And that's the direction you should be going. And I'm going to leave you with all this material. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I would urge you to be very cautious and prudent and to ignore everything the LDF tells you. Thank you.